Right, thank you, Pippa. It's nice to finally be able to uh, give this talk after the chaotic year I had last year. And I hope you find it interesting. I certainly find the Indic scripts of island Southeast Asia extremely interesting because even considering that Indic scripts are relatively unknown or have been for a long time or relatively overlooked in the study of writing systems, Indic scripts in Indonesia and the Philippines have been overlooked in terms of their rather unusual properties compared to other Indic scripts. So I'm going to be talking about Indic scripts in general today, and also about these island Southeast Asian scripts that have some funny conventions, really strange and initially inexplicable conventions for writing. Um, so that's basically what the first part of the title is about: reading, writing, arithmetic, and 1 plus 2 equals 3 question marks. So we're going to be getting into the whole question of reading and writing and how it connects with arithmetic and combining 1 plus 2 to make something else. So for one thing, alphabetical scripts are segmentally arranged. We have sequences of consonant letters and vowel letters, and we spell basically letter by letter to represent segment by segment in a very shallow phonemic or phonetic orthography. Of course, with time, chaos creeps in, such as in the English spelling system, and there's not a one-to-one correspondence between sound and symbol, but the basic principle is spelling segment by segment. So Canaanite scripts were semi-segmental. So they encoded consonants alone. They didn't encode vowels. So they were quasi-syllabic, except that you had to guess the vowels based on your knowledge of the language. But when the scripts were adopted in Greece and Anatolia, former consonant letters in Canaanite script or Phoenician script, were adapted to represent vowels, as I think most people are familiar with. And as I said, that's resulted in linear sequences of letters that iconically represent spoken consonant plus vowel sequences on a timeline, essentially. Now, Indic scripts took a rather different path. Okay, the basic unit of the Indic script is called the akshara, which literally means the inalterable. It was a term used by the Sanskrit grammarians initially to refer to a spoken syllable, and it came to be applied to the written syllable as well. So they have 3 basic properties. One is that there's a default vowel on all consonant letters. Every consonant letter is pronounced by default with a short a vowel, which can vary between a, o, depending on the language. Another principle is that to represent any vowel other than this short a, this so-called inherent vowel, dependent signs have to be placed above, below, to the left, and or to the right of base letters. So if you compare the Devanagari and the Balinese here, you can see how the 2 scripts represent the vowels. Now, for the most part, they're similar, except that for certain vowel signs, such as a, if you look at the K in the middle of the Devanagari here, you see it's written up above the letter. It's a short tick above the letter. Whereas in Balinese, it's a sign written off to the left. In Devanagari, for ko, for example, it's a tick above a vertical stem, which corresponds to the a long vowel. But in Balinese, it's actually a combination of that same letter or that same sign used to write a on the left with a long a sign on the right of the letter. So that's the difference between northern Indic scripts and southern Indic scripts, the position of certain signs. Another difference is that for Devanagari ki, the short ki, it's written with a, pardon me, an arcing diacritic over the ka, the basic letter, which joins a vertical stem on the left, whereas in Balinese, in South Indian scripts, it's simply this semicircle, or in earlier versions, a complete circle written over the letter. Another basic feature of Indic scripts is the use of consonant clusters. So they'll combine two consonants in a cluster by making one of the consonants a dependent sign. In northern scripts, it's usually a dependent sign following the base letter. Preceding the base letter. Whereas in southern scripts, if you look at the example from Balinese, it's usually a dependent form that follows the base letter and is usually written underneath. So you see the word swasti in both scripts. You see that the swa is written with a dependent sign and preceding the w and the t letters in the Devanagari example above. And in the Balinese example below, the w and the t are written below the initial s letters. Okay, as I said, akshara means imperishable. It refers to the spoken syllable and was extended to the written syllabogram, the base consonant letter, plus all the added conjuncts and vowel signs that make up the graphic syllable. And the simplest akshara is a simple vowel letter or a consonant letter followed by the short a. Now, the usage of this term changed in Malay and Indonesian, where the word aksara simply means a base letter, not the complete syllabogram. So again, we've got this quirky sign ordering. With swasti, you combine the s, v, s, t plus e, and you have the conjunct letters written below and the vowel written above. So to the right, you see how I've given the equivalents with annotations for the a vowel, the v below the first s, the t below the second s, and the e, where the e is written for that second syllable above the base letter and conjunct. In Devanagari, you see that the base letter is the v preceded by a conjunct s, and in the second syllable, the base letter is the t preceded by the conjunct s and preceded the whole of the two together, preceded by the I vowel sign. So this is a kind of arrangement of written signs that we don't find normally. I have trouble imagining or thinking of any example in consonantal or alphabetic scripts. Similarly, you have things like, just to give a short example, the combining R. If it follows the base letter, it's written as a tick below the base letter, as in Pradesh, a country. If it follows, if it precedes the base letter, then it's written above the akshara as a whole. So if it were written just above, if there were just a short vowel on the final M there, it would be written, this little curl at the top, it would be written above the M letter itself. But since the long A is part of the akshara as a whole, it's written over the final R. So it looks like shamar, but it's not shamar, it's sharma. So there again, you have a strange, quirky ordering of written signs that doesn't correspond iconically to the sequence of sounds. Okay, now moving on to the island Southeast Asian scripts. here's a map to help you locate where they're found, where the various scripts I'm going to be talking about in the following slides. So in Sumatra, bottom left, you have the Batak scripts in the north of the island. And then there's a South Sumatran group of related scripts in 3 different regions. One's Kerinci in the north, and Surat Ulu, which means upriver writing, more or less in the middle of the area, and Lampung in the south coast, opposite Java. Then you have east of Java, Bali, and east and northeast of that, you have the Bugis Makassaris or South Sulawesi group, which includes scripts of South Sulawesi, both Bugis Makassaris and the Makassaris Jangan script, and a couple of scripts on the island of Sumbawa at the bottom left, and on Ende or Flores in the bottom right. And going up to the Philippine group, the top you have Baybayin, the best known, the most widespread script, which was written on, used in much of southern Luzon and the Visayas Islands to its southeast. Just to the southwest on Mindoro Island, you have the Mangyan scripts, which still survive to this day, and equally on Palawan Island, moving toward Borneo, the Tagbano script, which is also still used to this day. So moving on to Batak, from a publication by Hermanus Neubrunner van der Tuuk over the Toba Batak language. He gives examples of how the consonant, the coda consonant letter, if there is a coda consonant and a vowel other than the inherent a, the consonant letter has to be written not on the onset consonant letter, but it has to be grouped with the coda consonant letter. So in the first set of examples where I've circled the vowel signs in red, this is where you would expect to find the vowel signs, but that's not where they're found. If you look at the line below, where you find the vowel signs actually written is on, moved to the right, and grouped with the coda consonant letter. So what is supposed to be tup, tip, and top actually looks like it's written tupu, tupi, and tupo. This is a rather strange and unexpected spelling rule, and you wonder where it comes from. It turns out that Batak is not the only script that has this kind of convention. Oh, sorry. Okay. South Sumatran scripts also have this and a similar convention, but not to the same extent as in Batak. So there are 3 examples I'm going to show in the next few slides. One is from Lampung in the far south, from another book by Van der Tuuk. One in the northern end is the Inchung script, or also called sometimes Renchong script, in Kerinci. And in between them, there's some examples from Surat Ulu from a copper plate, which contains a legend in a strange variety of Malay, heavily influenced by Javanese. Okay, so we go to Lampung. In Le Manuscrit Lampung, a book that Van der Tuuk published in 1868, that contains numerous examples of different documents written in Lampung script in quite varied hands, depending on the writer. There are 2 types of reverse ordering that you find, analogous to, or basically the same as what we find in Batak. One is like in Batak, where the coda consonant, the vowel is grouped not with the onset consonant letter, but with the coda consonant letter. So if we look at the word ikut, for example, the bottom, the first syllable is the E with the little round sign at the top, the E. And you'd expect that the U sign would be grouped with the K letter, but it isn't. It's grouped on the T letter, followed by a zero vowel sign. So whenever there's a zero vowel sign following a codiconsonant letter that indicates that you don't pronounce the inherent A, then you get the vowel sign grouped with that particular letter, just like in Batak. Same with il. Here, the E, the little circle, isn't grouped right on the consonant letter, the L, but it's in between the two. Apparently, according to Van der Tuuk, that often happens with the E sign. Moving over to the right to buk. Again, the little cross above the K sign, the K letter, is the vowel. You'd expect to find it grouped over the B, but it isn't. It's grouped over the codiconsonant letter, which is followed by that sort of backward S zero vowel sign. And the same goes for the second syllable, both syllables. You find it's grouped over the K rather than the B. That's one thing. That's one convention that's basically the same as what he describes for Batak. There's another kind of convention where instead of writing a codiconsonant with the base letter, the basic letter, followed by a zero vowel sign, there are a number of diacritic signs for certain consonants, such as a final H, a final ng, or a final n, or a final r. And those are just small diacritics written over the onset consonant letter. But when you do that, when you have an E sign in Lampung or an sign, as you can see in the various examples at the bottom, they aren't written directly in between the letter itself and the ng or n or r diacritic. They're written above the diacritic. So it's as if they're written going from the letter itself to the vowel. It's as if ning was written ngi, rung was written rung, and nir was written nyuri. Oops, I made a mistake on the final one. I showed the R sign as ing. It should be R. You always miss these errors when you try to proofread. Okay, so we go to the Inchung script. This is a variety that was written not on bamboo or on bark paper, but on buffalo horns. They had this ceremony where to seal a contract, they would sacrifice a buffalo and they would write the contract on each of the horns and give one horn to each of the parties in the contract. So if we look at the vowel and consonant signs written on the base letter K in the top line, you see that the final ng is written above the letter, and that the E vowel is actually written off to the right, as in Batak. If you look down below, find that, as in Batak, the vowel sign E is shifted right after the codiconsonant sign. So where you would expect to have kambing, it's spelled as if it were kamni. Say that little tick above the mba letter in the middle is the final coda ng, but the E vowel is written to the right of that whole cluster. Same thing with Lampuan. The E is written to the right of the onset consonant plus the ng, with the final H sign, which is written to the right. The E is again written to the right of it. So Dage is written as if it were Daghe. And same for Siri, which is written as if it were Sirhi, and Pati as if it were Pati. So this is fairly common in that particular example of Kerinci Inchung script. Other documents don't seem to use these conventions as much. So it's rather rarer than in Batak. Going on to the final set of examples, we have South Sumatran Surat Ulu, which is the most widely used of these scripts, used for various languages in Middle South Sumatra. And basically, in most of the documents, the texts that we have available, there's nothing unusual. You find things spelled iconically, as you would expect, with the coda consonant following the preceding vowel in writing. But on this copper plate, there's quite a bit of variation in how they write vowel plus coda consonant combinations. So if you look, I'll have to explain this. There are certain consonant signs or consonant letters, I should say, that are for nasal consonant combinations or nasal plus stop clusters. So one of these is the double chevron you see, which stands for nga with the inherent vowel. So you can see the word hangi written more or less iconically, but with the vowel signs written above the consonant here. The vowel sign, or for the first syllable, the final ng written above the consonant letter. Change the vowel a bit to hingi. You find off to, well, in the next example to the right, again, the vowel is written above the consonant letter, but the writer, although they didn't need to, they added an extra ing coda vowel with the, coda consonant with the zero vowel sign before the consonant letter that already shows that there's a nasal consonant before the following stop ga. So it's really a superfluous spelling here, but this gives an idea of some of the variation you find. Off to the right, the last example on this line, again, hinge. Here it's written without that extra intervening nga plus zero vowel sign. Okay, down to the bottom, we have probably the most common example in this text of strange ordering is with the word hing. So you see it spelled in full in the first example and the second example, okay, just with the e vowel sign over the onset letter, followed by the ng and the zero vowel sign, which gives you hing. In the third example, though, you have the final consonant, the ing, not written with the nga letter plus a vowel sign, but with the little dash, horizontal or angled horizontal dash that stands for a final ng. And as in the Lampung examples before, the e is not written between the consonant, the onset consonant and this ing diacritic, but above the ing diacritic. So this is another example of a rather counterintuitive sequence going outward from the onset consonant. And you find this also in the hanging example at the far right. Again, the vowel sign is written above the coda consonant ing sign. Okay, so we ask ourselves why this happened. Okay, but before we get to this, there's another set of strange conventions that we find in Sulawesi and the Philippines, which seem unrelated. There's a common convention, quite common in Sulawesi, less so in the Philippines, when two syllables begin with the same consonant. and both have a vowel other than the unmarked inherent a, very often the consonant letter is written only once, and the vowel signs are doubled up on the single consonant letter. So you have to kind of technical term from time to time. So I thought, well, we can call this disyllabic onset haplography, but yeah, vowel doubling is a bit easy, a bit of an easier mouthful. So I'll use that probably more often. So we see examples of this in the Makassari's Jangang script on the left. You see those in Mapala Poporo, okay? The two vowel signs are the vowel off to the right of the base letter are the vowels of two different syllables that happen to begin with the letter P, but it's only written once. But you read it not as po-o, but as po-po. And the same with the next example, the two dots above the L letter are for the I vowel, and you read it not as li, but as li, as two syllables. You just write the single, the onset consonant letter once, and the vowel signs double up on that to indicate two syllables starting with the same onset. In Bugis Makassaris to the right, you have an example with soso, written as if it were so, that's soso, and another one, which is rare, with two distinct vowel signs. So in asesa, do you see the little circle down to the bottom right there? It's not very clear, but it's the S letter, okay? And the sort of backward 7 to its left is the E letter. And above it, this little curl is the E letter or pepet letter. So you read it as asesa. Now, one of the things when you combine different letters, different vowel signs like this in Bugis Makassaris is that the order doesn't tell you which of the vowels is supposed to be pronounced first or second. You just have to supply that from your knowledge of the language and the context in the text. And then we go on to an interesting example where this has been extended in one of the manuscripts for the Bugis epic Lagaligo, where you have a sequence of a ma, a cha, and a la letter. So the three letters machala. The cha and the la have two e dots above them each. But it turns out this doesn't stand for machichilili, as in the regular convention, but it was extended and used as an abbreviation for machili chili, which is fairly rare, but quite interesting. They give a bunch of examples of other unusual abbreviations based on the vowel doubling convention. So we have something similar to this in the Philippines. It's just a handful of examples. It was obviously going out of use in the early 1600s. But there are a few examples where we actually find this. So we have the words nitong tubigan, okay? Nitong tubigan, which means of this irrigated land. And in the circle, we see the two syllables belonging, the syllables tong and tu belonging to nitong tubigan, written with a single t letter. So it's as if it's nito o bi. Okay. Now, just to make it clear, in the Philippine script, just as in South Sulawesi, coda consonant letters aren't written, and I'll get into this a bit later. It's because of the restrictions on syllable structure in South Sulawesi languages. But when the script was transferred to the Philippines, they ended up not writing the vast range of coda consonants that are possible in Philippine languages. So basically, each syllabogram is consonant plus vowel. So you have this abbreviation, again, nitong tubigan, written as to'o, but it stands for the tong and two syllables in the two different words. You find it below in the same example within a single word, ang pagkatotoo, the veracity or the truth of this document. but here it stands for two syllables in the same word. And off to the right, we have a couple of the signatures by a noble who fell into hard times and had to sell land to survive. His name was Don Dionisio Capolong. And here we have the syllable of Don and the first syllable of his name, Dionisio, abbreviated on one letter. So the letter itself is the D letter. And above it, you have the E, and below it, the O or U vowel sign. So again, you have to guess based on your knowledge of the language. Here, it's easy for me, since most signatures begin with don or doña, Spanish style. So you can be pretty sure that it's on preceding E rather than din do, for example. And down below, we have a signature by one Don Agustin Tiwalag. And if you look in the example on the left, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The fourth and fifth letters in the middle are the ta letter with an E dot above it. So he signs that way in one of his signatures. In another signature, in the example to the right, he just writes the initial ta onset letter once and doubles up the vowel sign on that. So interesting examples, and these are one of the pieces of evidence that connects the Philippine writing system to the writing system in Sulawesi, evidence among other strands of evidence that it was transmitted from the south. So the question is, where do these bizarre conventions come from? The vowel metathesis conventions that place them outside the letter, the codiconsonant letter or the codiconsonant sign in South Sumatra, and this vowel doubling convention in the Philippines and South Sulawesi. Okay, then there's also the strange variety of vowel and consonant positions in Kharoshthi and Brahmi as well. Why are they written not just after or to the right of the consonant letter, but also to the left, below, or above, and sometimes bracketing a consonant letter? How come Brahmi started off with this strange, or not just Brahmi, but its descendants? How did they end up with this strange variety of possible positions for the letters? Okay, so we'll go to Kharoshthi and Brahmi, where everything started. In the Shahpur inscription in Kabayed Zardosht in Persia, you see inscription of Parthian has certain ligatures with swash letters. It had begun to be swashed to the left like Aramaic script in the 5th to 3rd centuries BCE. And you note that, for example, you have k added to the r letter, or l added to the ein letter, w added to a g or a n letter. However, the yud never makes a ligature for some interesting reason. Interestingly enough, in Kharoshthi below, in the bottom line, you see that if you take the base letter sa, su has a vowel, not a vowel, but a circle ligature to it, just like the inscriptional Parthian ligature in the general neighborhood. A si is a slash through the top of the letter, like the yod in inscriptional Parthian. And se and so seem to be derived from these two by adding a dash above or below or through to the left of the letter itself. So what I think happened is that Kharoshthi borrowed these ligatures and innovated, based on the ligatures you find in Parthian, innovated by adding them to the bottom of a letter where the stems were still basically vertical, like Old Aramaic. And interestingly enough, you find that Brahmi keeps more or less the same positions for letters. The U is at the bottom again, and the others are written at the top of the letter. So if you compare the Brahmi signs in the bottom lines the examples at the bottom with the actual independent vowel letters on the bottom line for comparison, I suspect that these were probably originally borrowed from guttural letters in Old North Arabian scripts around the Hijaz and Jordan area on the way between South Arabia and the I've forgotten the trading empire, the Nabatean Empire in the area of Jordan. Most of the letters can be easily connected with the corresponding letters in South Arabian script. That said, in any case, it seems that what happened in Brahmi was that they took certain of the vowel letters and added them to the top or the bottom in abbreviated shape to the letters in more or less the same positions as in Kharoshthi. And basically what happened was that these eventually became swashed to the right or to the left to give the positions of Devanagari and Balinese letters. I'll just run through these very quickly. You can take a look later if you want to look at these again, as I only have a little bit of time left. Okay, so the most common method for teaching consonant-vowel combinations across Indic scripts was and still is to repeat these 12 basic CV aksharas. And this was named Dvadash Akshari, literally 12 aksharas in Sanskrit, or in modern Hindi and Gujarati, Barakri. So this indicates how they would learn and still learn to write the consonant vowel combinations. Ka, ka, kiki, kuku, kikai, ko, ko, gr, gr. So this is basically a paradigm that's recited to learn how to combine vowel signs with consonants. Now there's another method that has basically gone unnoticed in the literature. And this is found in its best, its most complete form for Surat Ulu in South Sumatra. But to some extent also it's attested for Kerinchian, for Sharada script in Kashmir. So not on Sumatra, but in Northwest India. So for South Sumatra, Van Hasselt says, when teaching spelling, the native puts various signs together on the letter and the learner reads. Okay, and if you look at the three examples in the inset image in the bottom, ka, kujujung, which is the R sign, kar, that makes kar. Ka plus kujujung makes kar. Plus kaluan makes kir. Okay, so they add the consonant sign to the consonant, they add the coda consonant sign to the onset consonant with the inherent vowel a. And then they add the vowel sign. So you get ka, kujujung, kar, add the e vowel sign, kaluan, kaluan, kir. And add an u vowel sign, kabitan, kur. And similarly for a final n, ka, dua di atas, two above, kan. The e sign, kaluan, kin. The u sign, kapitan, kum, and so on for ang. Kakatulan, kang, kaluan, king, kapitan, kung. And so here they give various examples of how it works also with a final zero vowel sign, showing that the inherent a is not pronounced. So it's called mumbuno or tandabuno, tanda mati, a killer sign. Okay, so for spelling practice, the following examples will serve. So da plus kapitan gives du. Wa plus koloan gives we. Okay, going down a couple of examples to let's see, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 lines down. Na mumbunuh ma. Okay, nam. Na mumbunuh ma gives nam. Kapitan gives num. So the vowel is mentioned after the coda consonant with the vowel killer sign. We can come back to this later if you want to look at it again. So if we take the syllable by syllable vowel sign combinations, which is what they do, they build syllables in sequence. I think this is the source of the vowel sign shift in the spelling conventions in South Sumatra and in the Batak scripts. So if you have Mambuno giving a Batak, it gives you a Batak style displacement of the vowel sign from the onset to the coda letter. You build sa mungo, sa per se, gives sa, first syllable. Second syllable, ka plus Mambuno, ta, okay, with the vowel killer, gives kat, okay. You've built that syllable. Then you add I plus goluan, the vowel sign above the consonant, it gives kit. And there, since you've built the kat syllable, okay, they put the I on the last letter rather than going all the way back to the letter for the onset consonant. Similarly, for the Lampung type inversion where the vowel sign is written above and outside the final consonant sign, you have, for example, a plus koloan I, that's the first syllable. Second syllable, la plus kujujung gives you lar. So you've got the lar syllable. You add the I vowel sign plus koloan lir. And there the I added above the final R sign on the lir syllable. And you see examples of this again in some of the Lampung examples I showed above. Now, if you recite the syllables in sequence, beginning with the inherent vowel, then adding a vowel sign where you already have a coda consonant sign, this gives you the reversed order, the opposite of what you might expect, proceeding from the onset consonant letter itself. So how am I doing for time?
Don't worry, take another 5 minutes if you need it.
Okay. I guess I had my timer. My timer's been screaming at me for several minutes already. I set my timer for 5 minutes, for 40 minutes. Okay, so if we go to the Philippines now. I think that I'm going to try and show that the vowel sign combinations, in other words, the vowel doubling or onset haplography on onset letters is derived also from a method of teaching via combinations of letters. So instead of using syllabic paradigms, again, the syllabic paradigms like the Dvadashakshari or Barakadi that I mentioned for India, they apparently used, and we have 2 or 3 examples of this, very clear examples from the Philippines. They used vowel sign combinations where they accumulated the vowel signs, there are only 2, on each letter. So one we see in the Doctrina Cristiana en Lengua Española y Tagala. So we'll go and take a look at this sort of paddle-shaped, I don't know what to call it, wooden board that was used to teach spelling to children in English. It shows the alphabet, and then it gives a paradigm of syllables, and so on, and so on. and then in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Ghost, amen, and then begins with the Lord's Prayer, the Our Father. Well, in the Doctrina Christiana, they start off with the same sort of paradigms for the Spanish syllables. Ba, bi, bi, bo, bu, ka, ki, ka, ke, si, so, su, da, de, di, do, do, and so on. And then end up with the ABC in the Tagalog language, el ABC in lengua Tagala. And it shows that. And they start off with the Lord's Prayer out the bottom, just the same as with the little teaching paddle for English-speaking kids. So off to the left, I've enlarged this portion with the ABC in lengua Tagala, and you see the letters there, okay, beginning with the three vowels, A, U, I, okay, the U looks like a 3, A, U, I, and then 14 consonant letters, and each of those consonant letters has the E vowel above it and the U vowel below it. So presumably read something like ha, hu, hi, pa, pu, pi, ka, ku, ki, sa, su, si, la, lu, li, and so on till nga, ngu, ngi, and wa, wu, wi. So this is interesting. They combine both the vowel signs used in the Baybayin script with each of the consonant letters. We find the same thing, for example, in the Tagbano script on Palawan with the bamboo that was illustrated by Alfred Kraber in his book, The Peoples of the Philippines. There again, you have the three vowel letters, U, A, I, slightly different order from the Doctrina, and then Lula, Li, Muma, Mi, Nonani, Dudadi, Tutati, Nonani, and so on. And off to the right, we have an example from Hermenegildo Marcia y Martin in his book on the ancient Philippine alphabets. And he shows how they actually recited these, but he puts them in the Roman alphabetical order. So after the vowels, he gives the B, K, D, G order rather than the native order. So he says they would recite ban bairi, ban bairo, kankaisi, kankaiso, dandairi, dandairo, gangairi, gangairo, etc. And Harold Conklin, much more recently in 1991, observed in his fieldwork with people using the Tagbanoa script, you say, after pronouncing the three vocalic signs, U, A, I, a common way of reading this exercise aloud was to point to each basic or diacritic sign while chanting as rapidly as possible. And I'm not going to chant as rapidly as possible. Lang lailuk, lang laili, mangmaimu, mangmaimi, etc., ending with ngangaingu, ngangaingi, wawa. So again, you have this combination of signs on a single letter, but not written out as separate syllables, just a single letter with the two vowel signs combined on each letter in the writing. Well, turns out we have something similar in Sulawesi. So Marsden in 1834 described the various letters and, well, used various letters combined with vowel signs to show how you would pronounce each combination. But at the very end, he said, the whole of the signs are by the native teachers thus combined. And here you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different vowel signs. One of them actually used as a final ng by the Makasaris, by the Bugis, it's the vowel. And you see how they're all combined, these 5 signs, with a single t letter, that little arch is t. And if we separate them out going clockwise, you get, starting with the inherent a vowel, ta, te, ti, tu, to, tu, which sounds suspiciously similar to the Tagbanoa recitation. Oops, I hit the button too fast. And here, you see, actually in his notes, which are available at SOAS, that Marsden actually wrote down each of the possible combinations, okay, with a different base consonant. So you have kakeki kokuku, gagegi gogu, ngangingi ngangungu, Kang, king, king, kang, kungku, papepi, papupu, babebi, babobu, and so on. He just abbreviated this for the purposes of his final publication. But apparently, all these sequences were recited according to his notes. Again, he stacks all the vowel signs on each different consonant in sequence. So the fact that you stack these together is rather encouraging since you repeat each syllable in sequence, ka, ke, ki, ke, ko, ku, okay? You can just write the single onset consonant once, and you combine the vowel signs for each different syllable in sequence, ka, ke, ka, ki, ka, ko, or ke, ki, kiku, kiko, kike, and so on. And this seems to me a plausible origin for that abbreviation convention, the vowel sign W, the onset epigraphy that you find in Sulawesi and in the Philippines. Okay, so just to close things up, there's one of the other things that's fascinating about Indonesia especially, and to some extent neighboring areas in Malaysia, is the profusion of cipher scripts where they substitute all sorts of letters of unusual origins for the consonant letters, but basically keep the vowel signs the same. So it's basically substituting consonant letters for a single basic script, depending on whether it's in Sumatra or in Sulawesi. Slight differences, but it's the same principle. However, there's this one really bizarre cipher script that was used in Java, which was published by someone whose name I forget, in 1855, in an article titled, with the Dutch equivalent of a strange Javanese cipher script. And I can't help wondering if this cipher was inspired by familiarity with the vowel sign stacking convention. So what happens, and I've translated the Dutch here. So he says, for example, Niru, okay, that should be pronounced Niru, is thus written with all the reading signs except the Wulu, which is the I sign above, and the Suku, the U sign below. So instead of writing those two signs, they add all the other vowel signs and coda consonant signs possible, okay? And you have to guess by eliminating them and then guessing what wasn't written, how it should actually be pronounced. So the stacked versions in the example just below have everything but I and U on the two consonants. And by elimination, you figure out it's supposed to be written Niru. And below then, he says, letters which contain the vowel A, which is the inherent vowel that isn't written, such as the Ka and Na in Kana, are thus provided with all the signs without distinction. So you just pile everything on. And by elimination, you figure out that the vowel on each of them is A. And finally, it says, in words or syllables like sih, ku, and nge, no pattern, in other words, no vowel killer, no zero vowel sign, needs to be added in order to indicate that the inherent A, should be absent, because the sandangans, the diacritics, the wignyan, which is the H in the first one, looks like a stretched 2, the chacha, which is the dot above in the second one, and the layar, the R, the sort of extended acute accent in the third one. The wignyan, chacha, and layar that are omitted here themselves close the syllable and make that sign, the paten, the vowel killer, superfluous. One thus has to write, and you see off to the right all the examples that he gives of stacking these vowel signs on each consonant letter that you have to decode by elimination to figure out what is actually supposed to be pronounced. So just to conclude then, we have a group of different, rather, I wouldn't say arbitrary, but unexpected events in the transmission of these different scripts that influenced the different kinds of conventions we find here. So going from, starting with Kharoshthi, we have imitation of the swash ligatures for certain letters in Kharoshthi that was adapted to a more sophisticated use as a means of indicating a vowel on a single consonant letter. And it was extended to the vowels A and O. And that was adopted by Brahmi, the basic akshara, written akshara convention, but substituting different signs that I believe were probably taken from North Arabian scripts and used as vowel letters, but abbreviated, especially when written above a letter for all vowels except for U. Going from there, you have this strange algebraic equation formula, which is the 1 + 2 = 3 question marks. 1 + 2 to build each syllable, resulting in something else. So the basic consonant with the inherent vowel plus a coda consonant, the second one, plus something else, a vowel sign, which gives you a written syllable where the vowel sign is written after or outside the coda consonant, counterintuitively or counter iconically. And then this was adapted in South Sulawesi, this combination of signs over a single onset letter to write the vowels of South Sulawesi languages, which have only a very restricted set of coda consonants, basically two choices, whether word finally or within a word where you have clusters. And there, the combination of vowel signs on the letters, again, was adapted as from the teaching convention, that is. It was adapted as an abbreviation widely used for a while in Sulawesi and to some extent in the Philippines to write two syllables beginning with the same onset letter, same onset consonant, that is, and two different vowels other than the inherent vowel A. So I'll end here, and I guess I'll throw the virtual floor open to questions. So